Alrighty then.
Alright, it's live.
Yeah, I can hear myself too. Time to do some sound checks. We're live on video. I have edited a little bit out, obviously, like this part. Nobody wants to see this part.
No, I understand. Check. I've learned.
Today, I was going up and down the stairs with, it was like literally, so I just got done playing with Nimitz outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I was taking the empty decoration boxes upstairs.
You want the Miller Lite can in here?
Yeah, I don't care. Free advertising for Miller Lite, why not? But I was going up and down the stairs, right?
Yeah.
And at one point, I go, I think to myself, because I'm like breathing a little heavy going up and down the stairs with these, again, relatively empty. There's some stuff in it, but I'm like, why am I so out of shape? I'm like, well, I just answered my own question. The question is, why am I so out of breath? And it's because I'm out of shape.
Yeah.
So, like,
No, I feel the same way.
it was like, ugh.
I gotta get busy.
Yeah, no, so do I.
I've got so many quality years left, I need to make sure they stretch.
Same.
Yeah, not the same.
All right, let's try. Hold on. Test 1, 2, test. Go ahead.
Check 1, 2, I'm live.
You said that like Ron Burgundy. I'm live. Can you hear it? Loud and clear? All right.
Yes.
Camera's good. Hat's on right. You look good.
Well, thanks, buddy. You look good too. I'm repping SJV tonight.
Yeah. They're celebrating, I think, 50 years or something like that of their program. Dawn put it on Instagram the other day, or Zoe did, one of them.
Maybe I'll get invited to the party.
No, they don't like you.
Apparently not.
Dawn still hasn't responded to my text on when she's available for this, so it's up to you now.
Okay.
She did say that she'd want to do it, so like I appreciate the initial, but like you need to time to send in the big dog, I guess, on this one.
The closer?
Yeah, the closer. That's right. I got Will. You can get Dawn. Oh, I need my notes, which are right here, but it'll have to hit record first anyway. All right, I'm gonna record, by the way.
Why don't you go full-fledged mad dog? Good afternoon, everybody. How are you today?
I mean, I could leave that in there, but I won't. All right. Hello, welcome back to Outside the Coach's Box. It is Sunday, December 10th. I'm Nick. Sitting to my left is Big
Not the
D.
10th of December. You blew right through Pearl Harbor Day.
It's December 3rd. I actually scheduled. So now you gotta, hold on. We gotta stop, delete, record.
December 10th.
Yeah. I was prepping for Friday already. That's what it is, our next week.
You can't put the cart before the horse.
No. Thanks. Good catch, though. So at least you caught it this time, and like instead of last time, we were like, just let him go.
I didn't want it to end up. It's December 3rd.
December 3rd?
Yes.
I think I had that and changed it. I don't know why. No, because tomorrow's the 4th, that's why. 4th. Monday. Sunday.
Come on, man. This shit's supposed to be done already.
All right. Let's try this again. All right, here we go. Welcome back to Outside the Coach's Box. It is Monday, December 4th. I'm Nick. Sitting to my left is Big D.
Hello.
Let's talk some sports. Let's dive right into it, by the way, because we got an action-packed Saturday that just happened. College football.
Yeah.
Huge college football playoff implications, which were revealed today. But let's take a review. College football. Championship weekend yesterday, or 2 days ago, Saturday. Since we are recording Sunday, but this is for Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'll let you kick it off first. Let's go over the early games. Which I think technically speaking Friday started, right? We had
the Pac-10.
Oregon Washington. Was that Friday or Saturday? That was Friday. That was Friday. Friday night, yeah. It's been a busy weekend, right?
Yeah.
You get what days are which. But yeah, Oregon Washington. I was dead wrong. I was wrong a lot this weekend. A lot. Like we'll go over picks later or like right after bowl picks or as we're doing this, but I only had 2 wins. I went 2 and 4, it looks like. But somehow I magically still have. It's because you're a bad picker too. Like we're both bad.
I'm not bad.
No, we're both bad. Like it's very fair to say we're both bad. But
you were 2 and 4 in college.
Yeah,
I was 3 and 4 in college.
Yeah, but you were already you were 2 games under 500.
and I had that tie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the tie is what kills you because
But
percentage
we still
points.
have college football left. Don't go putting the cart before the horse again.
We got to find a date that we can't. I mean, I guess we can go all the way through BCS national championship game, and this one's for Taco Bell, right? Like that's what we
Yeah.
decided. The
Talk about
loser buys winner Taco Bell. But yeah, we'll start Oregon Washington. Oregon, yeah, they just didn't show up to play. It was 10-0 before. I mean, we were. This one was tough to follow because we were at a dinner for cousin Ryan, who's getting married at the end of the month.
Yeah.
We got we had a little bro steak dinner basically, so it was tough to follow, but we were following along. Ryan had it on his phone. We were like, what score was going on? So like, yeah, but still Oregon didn't show up. It was 10-0 at the blink of an eye.
I wouldn't say they didn't show up. I mean, they Washington got out to the early lead, but it was a back and forth game after that. And I thought both Bonix and Penix played extremely well.
Yeah.
You know, listen. I think Washington felt a little disrespected, and they should have to be
Absolutely.
a 10-point dog when you're undefeated against a team that you've already beaten.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
No, and actually, to tell you the truth, and we'll touch more upon it later with the whole Florida State incident or issue. But you got to imagine that if the committee did what they did to Florida State, it could have been Washington if Georgia held on and won.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a chance that they might have been disrespected even further. I don't know if that. That's a huge what if situation.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not there, so we can't speak on it. But man, I agree with you. Disrespect was huge to the point where I thought. I don't know why I believed in odds makers. I normally never do. Just like, they make shit up, which they don't, because a lot of times they're right.
No, they're crazy good.
Yeah, so again, I was just like, all right, I'll believe in this one. Like 9.5, like they gotta know something is going on for Oregon, and yeah, they were just wrong on this because Oregon giving 9.5 was wrong. And the reason why I said they just didn't show up is I always say, and I speak more on the professional level, but as we get further and further away from amateurism in college, like this is basically becoming like a minor league professional like system.
Yeah.
You can't spot a team 10 points and expect to win. You can't spot a team any amount of points in a big, conference, big championship game, and then come out and expect to win. I say it all the time in the NFL, and especially over the last few years, like Cowboys, whenever they lose, they seem to be like, oh, we're down 14-0. Like, especially in the playoffs, we're down 14-0 or like 19-3, and then second half emerges and it's like whole new other team.
Yeah.
But you've already spotted certain teams X amount of points. Like all the energy you're exerting to get back to that level or just get above them, which it always seemed like, Washington got out to that 2-score lead. And then from there, you're right, it's back and forth because Oregon could only get 1 score ahead of them. And I was like, Washington coming right back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you did all that effort. You got 1 point ahead. And you're just like, okay, we're tired. We're ready to go. We can do this.
Yeah.
I'm actually out of breath from talking. That's not me extending. No, but it is a problem in sports in general. I feel like a lot of teams, and we talked about it a little bit with the Heat era, the LeBron era Heat, or the Heat era LeBron team, LeBron era Heat team, whatever you want to phrase it as. Like some teams think they have an on switch, and it's just not a thing in sports.
Yeah, I was going to say the only place you can spot a team 10 points or more is the NBA, but college, any sport, any real sport, there's a couple key points to the games, right? Number one is how you start.
Yeah.
You definitely, if you've done your scout right, if you execute to what the scout is, you definitely don't want to be down 10 points in this case in a championship game. Lickety split. Now, credit to Oregon, they didn't go away because a lot lesser teams would have maybe folded or let things even get further out of hand. Then the other spot is, well, how do you answer the bell after halftime? We used to always talk about the first 3 minutes of the second half of a basketball game.
Yeah.
Because that's the other danger spot is like, oh, we've got this in hand. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden there's a little bit of momentum shift and, now you're chasing your tail again. But
yeah, no, but I mean, like you said, all credit to Washington. Go Huskies, I guess, in that instance. They did a great job. Penix is a phenomenal player. Probably not going to win the Heisman, but still a phenomenal player. Deserves all the credit. That whole team does. I mean, all year, I think they were kind of underestimated.
yeah.
But yeah, one last thing I want to say on that is pour one out for the Pac-12. It's over. That was the last Pac-12 game we'll see. You know, it's the Pac-2 from now on. But I
Well,
think even
There's still the Pac-12 in the college football playoffs. We won't see it.
no, the
Pac-12.
Pac-12
Yeah.
Pac-12 championship game. I'm
Right,
sorry,
right,
is what
I
I meant
got
to say. I think that's the last one that we'll see. I think even next year, with teams leaving, there's still some teams that are still there.
Yeah.
But it's not 12 anymore. And again, all that's in the conference is Washington State and Oregon State. So, yeah.
Cal Berkeley, or are they moving out too?
No, they're out of the conference. They're are they ACC bound? I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
the
makes sense.
Atlantic Coast Conference,
Sure.
baby. Yeah, them and Stanford.
Cal Berkeley on the Atlantic Coast.
That's right. Cal Berkeley is right. The next one, early Saturday game, I think, was the Big 12 championship game.
Yep.
And Texas flexed all sort of muscle to the point where no matter what happened in the SEC game, which again we're like seconds away from talking about that and the huge implications it had on the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
But Texas flexed such a muscle that they could not be ignored. They beat Bama earlier in the season. The only really impressive win of the season, obviously the Michigan-Ohio State game, whoever won that game, which was Michigan, was impressive because you beat, 2 or 3 in the country.
Right.
But that one, at that time, I mean, Bama hasn't lost since. Bama's lost to no other team, which is a prelude to the SEC championship game.
Although they should have lost to Auburn, but yes, they haven't lost.
Right. Texas only lost a rivalry game to Oklahoma, the Red River rivalry. It's like Red River rivalry.
You spit it out pretty good. I was impressed.
But the, we always say in rivalry games, you just throw out the records; they don't matter. Like I think that's what it was. I don't think Oklahoma was a better team on the day, but overall, I think everybody can say that Texas is a much better football team. But yeah, no shadow of a doubt. We both won our bets on that one, so there's a win.
No, I didn't. I lost that one.
You did?
I took the points. I took Oklahoma State in the points. I did not expect Oklahoma State to win. I did expect the opportunity for a backdoor cover.
Right.
And they were in the backyard and couldn't come back in. So
no, that's the one I'm disappointed. I didn't take the points, and I said on our Friday episode, I don't know enough about Oklahoma State. I just knew that they had a good running back, which their running back got hurt early.
Yeah.
Which I think probably led to some of the reason why. I mean, Texas, again, very good, very impressive. But yeah, they just looked the team deserving of a playoff spot. I hit the over 55.5. That was easy. I think they scored like 49 in the first half. So, that might be their downfall in the playoffs. Big 12, there's not a whole lot of defense, but the one thing I did find unusual about that game, and I guess it's tough because they were only up 28 at the time, but in the fourth quarter they're up 28. They had their top wide receiver get hurt. They had their Quinn Ewers get hurt for a little bit. He didn't end up coming out or anything, but I know he came out for a play. That's what it was. He came out for a play. That was a long draw, suspenseful breath, by the way. You have playoffs on the mind. Yes, you want to close the door. You want to make it emphatic. We belong in the top 4.
Right.
But at what point do you have to be like, okay, like this game's over. If we are in the playoffs, we want to make sure we're healthy. Because you're not beating a Alabama, Washington, Michigan without full health. Yeah. Right? You're not beating, whomever you're playing, if it's Georgia, full health. You're not playing in a bowl game. You're not beating them if you don't have Quinn Ewers. And that's, respect to their backup, respect to possibly Archie Manning, maybe get in there, but you got to think preservation at that point. And I don't know. I don't know what I would have done. I know it's not very common in the NFL, but college, we've talked about this before. You have a stacked, positional room. You have the top recruits, especially at that level, especially at Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, whatever. You have a stacked quarterback. You have a stacked wide receiver. So on and so forth. So
yeah, it's just tricky as a coach, and especially late in the season, between game action and practice, even as to how many reps you get your people.
Yeah.
When do you take them out? Are you trying to stay, especially in a playoff situation, trying to keep the chemistry and the synchronicity of your offenses and things working together to where there's no effect in the next event, whatever that is. And even in practice, like how hard do I practice? How long do we practice?
Yeah.
Do we do any game like action? There's always those questions about what do you do.
No, and we've seen the ramifications, especially like in practice. Like we had a player once break her nose
I
during
was,
a
I was just
practice.
thinking
Like,
about her.
and you know, I've seen it. I mean, you've seen it. Like you try to bring in competition, you try to do whatever, and people can get very hurt during practice, and then all of a sudden, state game for high school level, obviously, bowl game for college level. Like, what do you do? Like, you just lost. And again for basketball, it was one of if not our best player on the team at that point. Like, even if you want to consider just pure hustle and pure heart, like, what do you do there? So,
and that's the thing that ended up causing that was her pure hustle and pure heart. I mean, she just was flying all over the court in practice.
That and one of your assistant coaches' heads, not mine, by the way, not mine. So that is, we can only imagine who that was. Yeah, and I'm let's not be being facetious. I literally had nothing to do with that. I was on the opposite end of the court doing nothing. It was another assistant coach who shall not be named / has been on the podcast before. What? No, so yeah, it was interesting. I always thought like maybe get the backups in because what if you're in that situation in the bowl game?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think a few years back to Tua coming in for Jalen Hurts, and actually, vice versa for the following year's SEC championship game. Like Bama ended up winning because they had two quarterbacks ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
They were ready to go. They won. There was without skipping a beat. In fact, actually, both years their backup quarterbacks did better than the guys who were starting. Granted, both are in the NFL now, and they're doing fantastic. But
well, that's the difference of being at a high level Division I program or a professional program. And that's one of the reasons why when I was coaching basketball, I'd always try during the season to put girls that were not common to the floor or got a lot of minutes in for time to try and develop that bench and develop some depth and
oh, you didn't want to just start the same 5 girls and let them ride out and just burn them out throughout? You didn't want to do that?
Much to the chagrin of one of the local quote-unquote experts around, questioning why I was going so deep into the bench when we were in Trinity Hall that one time. But it was to give people the opportunity to get some game experience,
It's almost like doing that prepares them for the season instead of just going with the same 5 and then stunting development. But
it's a novel concept.
Yeah, whatever. We'll move on to the biggest game of Saturday. I slammed for an emphasis. Okay. I know you can hear it, but
slam for emphasis. Doing it. Give me a headache.
So old, man. That's the problem with doing a podcast. The biggest game of the weekend, the AAC championship game. SMU comes in, beats Tulane. I mean, the implications this has on the playoff. I'm just kidding. I can keep going.
I was like, okay, no,
I'm
looking down. What?
No, SMU won. That's all I have in my notes. SMU won.
That's a check mark for me, by the way.
It was a loss for me because the over didn't hit. The over was at 47. I think they were in the high 30s or like a touchdown away. I was like, nice, of course.
Yeah.
SMU I think put up 47 alone against Navy the week before, so they wasted all. No, that's all I have on the AAC. You want to mention anything?
No, just got that win.
Which is SMU's, again, we focus on last, right? And to go back real quick, that was Texas's last Big 12 conference game. It'll be the last time they're in the Big 12. They go to the SEC next year. This was SMU's last AAC conference game. Yeah. There's a whole lot of last going on. It was also a last for another program or a last for another conference. I don't know exactly what, but this was literally the biggest game of the weekend. SEC championship game, Bama, Georgia. You're so. Oh, actually, let's cycle back because that just has all the other implications. We'll go ACC next. ACC FSU won despite missing their starting quarterback, despite like the whole world thinking that I had no shot. Louisville was going to come in there.
The whole world plus you.
Yeah, no, I was including myself in the whole world.
Because I got a green check mark next.
Yeah, I did not. You got a green check mark. I did not. But it was amazing that how it was a low scoring game, but they found a way to pull it out at the end. Their defense, they say defense wins championships, but you need an offense too, and their offense did just enough. Which we'll cycle back to them. Brings me to another one, Big Ten championship. We got Michigan beating Iowa thoroughly.
26-0.
Yeah. Thoroughly. And again, this is what I'm talking about. Like, defense wins championships, but you need an offense. And this year, when facing ranked opponents, Iowa was outscored 57-0. They lost to Penn State 31-0. They lost to Michigan 26-0. You gotta score.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And yeah, it was just they showed that they had no business being on that field. The
I
winner
didn't expect Iowa to win, but I thought 22.5 against that defense might be a little much. And, 4 points away or 3.5 points away from that being the case. But
yeah, but I mean, and that was the crusher too. Like I'm sitting there, I'm like, don't, because I had it at 23.5. I'm like, don't kick the field goal, like run out the clock, damn it. But no, yeah, it was, it was bad. Like I said, the winner of the Ohio State Michigan game should have just been given the automatic win for that, and because I don't think it's any different. I think Ohio State said they crushed Iowa.
I would agree with that too, but I mean, you have to play the game.
I know you do.
Does the defense snuff out McCarthy, and all of a sudden Michigan's on their back? Pedaling?
Right, I'm sure, and like injury. Not that you wish for any injuries, but injuries happen. Somebody gets hurt, all of a sudden, it levels the playing field.
Or a defensive score, that all of a sudden now Michigan's down 7-0, and they're scrambling or something.
Or Connor Stalions on the other team's sideline, and I'm sorry, that's we're moving past that. All right, but now to come back, because there's two games that we really need to talk about: the SEC game, and then of course the implications it had on the ACC champion. Bama looked good. Bama deserved to win that game. I know you have you were a big Georgia going into it, which by the way ended up being a check mark for me because before the game, I know last time I took Georgia money line, you took Georgia with the points. Before the game, I went to you and I said, let's make this a true head-to-head. I'll take the Bama with the points, which, to be fair, if you said no to that, I was willing to take Bama money line, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But I took Bama plus 5.5. You took Georgia minus 5.5.
Yep. Being a competitor that I am, though, I wanted the head-to-head.
Yeah.
I didn't want you to chintz out on it. So
I know I appreciate you being a sport. I mean, it didn't matter. It was my only other win of the weekend. So I literally lost the Oregon game because I picked Oregon minus 9.5. I lost the SMU game because I took the over for that one. I lost the ACC champion game because I picked Louisville plus 2.5, which and then Iowa plus 23.5 was brutal. So I only won the SEC championship in Big 12, and let's get into it.
There's nothing to get into.
Sure, no, Bama. So for if you haven't learned by now, because the college football playoffs came out this week or today, on Sunday. And in the playoffs, we have Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Bama 4,
which is gross.
And this is what I was saying, and this is why you kept on trying to say let's talk about things when they get there, the hypotheticals. It would have been fun.
Now we have a lot to talk about.
Right, we do.
Because this is hypothetical. It's not hypothetical.
No, it's real. It's legit.
Bullshit.
Yeah, no. The fact that Bama jumped undefeated FSU, which
ridiculous.
I always said that Texas deserved to be there before Bama because they beat Bama, and that the SEC championship should be held out. I didn't actually think they would. I thought that, Texas would probably be on the outside looking in. But the fact that they have the first time in NCAA history taken a undefeated Power 5 team, a conference champion, and not let them in the playoffs, have actually literally told them you're not making the playoffs, is insane to me. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's, as I said before, disgusting. It's a gross misstep by the committee. Same as when they dropped Florida State to number 4 after winning a game because they lost their starting quarterback for the season. It's that anticipatory crap. Somehow assuming that Florida State can't compete without their starting quarterback, yet they go out and win the ACC championship.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, the next person up, the next man up, the defense stood up, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
They may not be as sexy now without their starting quarterback, but they're still winning games.
Right.
And they're undefeated. So the committee is saying right now that it is better to be a one-loss SEC team than it is to be an undefeated ACC championship.
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of minimizes or diminishes the impact that a conference championship has for your team. And then so their criteria is like conference champion, check, undefeated, check, strength, or you have to play a tough schedule or a schedule worth getting in. Check. They beat they schedule LSU. They got LSU to schedule them. Whatever. They beat LSU.
Yep.
I forget what other SEC team, but they beat them. They beat Clemson. They beat Louisville in the championship game. I don't know what more FSU could have done to the point where I don't think the committee actually had a legitimate answer, to the point where the president of the committee or one of the committee members came out and said, well, no, that's we'll get on that. But the president of the committee, the guy that was part of the selection, said there's just a different team without Jalen, who is their starting quarterback.
That's not for them to say. It's to play it on the field. And the biggest difference between Florida State and Alabama, other than being an undefeated conference champion, is that they don't have Nick Saban. And that's what it is. It's a bow down to Nick Saban.
Well, I actually find it interesting. So I don't see it that way. I'm curious if actually one quick note on that. Did you see? And you only just reminded me because he's a frequent visitor on the Pat McAfee show. But did you happen to see the college game day picks at all?
No.
Before, so they're at the SEC championship game. They're making picks, and Pat McAfee, which he's been doing kind of all year, has called the dogs, which is like, the Georgia saying, like, who's that coming down? And they like all respond, ending on like barks, like like legitimate barks.
Yeah.
Like all before he makes his pick, and then he says, "I'm going Bama." I think it was like one of the best all-time trolls like in the history. Like, and of course, you have both Bama and Georgia fans there, so like you didn't really hear the boos, but it was one of the funniest things ever. Anyway, back to the game. I'm curious, or back to the playoffs. I'm curious if it's less bowing down to the SEC and Nick Saban, which I think there's a legitimate argument to say that they are.
Yeah.
And more of a, look, we're kind of punishing the ACC here, because the ACC was actually the conference that stonewalled the playoff expansion talks to the point where really those rules should have been into effect this year, which means Florida State would be in. So I'm curious if, like, again, no, obviously nobody's ever going to say, like, yeah, that's 100% what it is.
Well,
but
they are human after all.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole decision process was pathetic. I mean, you go back to when Ohio State jumped Georgia for the number one. It's
at the time.
But same thing with Florida State, because they lose their starting quarterback, all of a sudden they drop. I mean, it's
that's two different things. At the time, the resume for Ohio State was better than Georgia. We all knew. I mean, I could poke fun at you all day for your love of Georgia, which again, I'm going to be like, what's his name? Burton on Bama, and break your heart with my little symbols here. You Georgia fan.
You do understand that my my company's in Georgia.
Yeah, so
I have a lot of friends and coworkers that are in Georgia. Although I do have one coworker friend who is a big Roll Tide fan as well. So, but
they don't work in Georgia, do they?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's brutal.
Yeah.
They're working from home this week. No, but it is interesting to see. I mean, again, I think it's terrible what happened to them. But if this were a 12-team playoff this year, you'd be seeing the top four getting by. So Michigan, Washington, Texas, Bama, all getting buys. Florida State at 5, Georgia 6, Ohio State 7, Oregon 8, Mizzou 9, Penn State 10, Ole Miss 11, and Liberty being the highest ranked non-Power 5 at 12.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd see Oregon versus Mizzou for the right to play Michigan, Florida State versus Liberty for the right to play Bama, Ohio State versus Penn State for the right to play Washington, and then Georgia versus Ole Miss to play Texas.
By the way, don't look past Liberty in these bowl games.
No,
don't look past Liberty.
In the bowl game, sure, but in the playoff situation, I think Liberty would get crushed by Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there comes a point where, and I'm this big way in basketball when it comes time to the bracket and March Madness. There comes a time where talent wins out, and it's just so hard, especially nowadays with NIL laws and everything, for these schools to not. I mean, unless you have, again, he just declared for the NFL draft with Frank Gore Jr. from Southern Miss. Like, unless you have a player like that,
mm-hmm.
who has that, for lack of a better term, like NFL pedigree, then you're not really a threat. And again, I don't know enough about Liberty. I can't say that I watched a whole lot of games, but I don't think they'd be a threat.
Do you remember a game last year called TCU versus Michigan?
I said from the beginning that TCU was going to win that game, but none of them stood a stance against Georgia, which I was right.
Right.
Like, I didn't think Michigan was that good this year. I honestly think Michigan's going to lose to Bama in the first round.
I am so rooting for Michigan. I will hail to the victors valiant, and it has nothing to do with Georgia. Georgia lost the game.
It totally does. Your
No,
heart's
no, no.
broken.
Georgia
shattered.
lost the game. Kirby Smart should have done a better job of getting them ready. Their defense was a little bit lax in the first half. There was that one controversial catch by Bond on a 4th and 4 that kept the drive alive that turned
I
into
don't
a
agree with
touchdown.
the controversy on that. I think it was a
But
fair catch.
at the end of the day, Alabama won that game. Give it to them. They do not deserve number 4 in the college football playoffs, and because of that,
Yeah.
I will be rooting hard for Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines.
I agree with you that they don't deserve to be in there above FSU. It would be interesting though. So if remove Bama because you don't think FSU's in, do you put them above Texas being undefeated?
Yes. Yeah.
So you'd have Michigan, Texas, Washington, FSU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, conference winner,
Yeah.
undefeated.
I agree with you. Undefeated teams. I've always said undefeated teams deserve to be in there more than those who have losses. So the fact that FSU did not lose a game all year, and is outside the playoffs, it is a big issue. I don't know how much more you want to get into that, but
Yeah.
We'll have all these bowl games. Friday we'll be talking about Army Navy game coming down the track, so
Yeah, buddy.
that'll be a lot of fun. But for now, for all for all it's made up to be, the playoffs are at a hush right now. Like we enter that weird part of the college football season where it's December 4th,
Yeah.
Monday, December 4th. The national championship game isn't played till what, January 8th, right? So you have, or somewhere around there. I think that's a Monday this year, so I think it might be the 8th. But you have all this time now where you see, and we were going over some of the bowl, the Pop-Tart Bowl, you got
It's crazy.
the Bourbon Bowl,
Everything goes to money.
I should say it again. Remember that time Bobby Boucher came at halftime and the Mud Dogs won the Bourbon Bowl? So it is crazy. Some of them don't make sense. I forget what the Fiesta Bowl. It's the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, I think, this year. I remember when it used to be the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Like that made sense to me.
Because you're a fat guy wanting potato chips.
No, well, I mean, I was a kid at the time, so I wasn't fat. I was actually like a beanpole, but Fiesta Party, like chips, like that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like even when the PlayStation became, it was like the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, like it made less sense, but like they had like party, like when you talk to people, it's called party, like whatever. Like it doesn't make sense. And what was it? The Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. That doesn't sound right to
Sounds
me.
gross.
Yeah, you don't want to try citrus
a
Cheez-It?
Cheez-It crusted orange. Yeah.
I do say that one of my favorites, and I told you this earlier, was what is it called? The Idaho
Spud Bowl.
No, it's potato bowl, but like what is it? There's something in between that I'm missing. But the potato bowl, essentially, I love it because they give those players at the end a potato like the Orange Bowl gives oranges. I think it's one of the funniest things ever.
I tell you what, when we continue the picks, assuming we're not going to pick, I mean, we'll pick the Army Navy game, but we'll be on the same page, I'm sure. We should only do like the traditional bowl games and out to the playoffs. As opposed
Yeah,
to
we can't pick
everyone.
every bowl.
Right,
No.
So
no. Yeah,
we'll have to pre-designate that, but
I think we'll stick to New Year's 6.
yeah,
We'll figure
there
that
you go.
out.
New Year's 6 and then the college football playoffs.
Yeah, which actually might rob us from, I think, the Cotton Bowl. I don't think it's played on New Year's Day, or maybe.
Well, whatever. We just need to put a fence around it because
Yeah,
it'll
we
be a
will.
little crazy.
Well, how about this? We'll pick Army Navy game. Actually, we shouldn't even pick Army Navy game because we are going to both. It means nothing. We're either going to win together or lose together, and the records aren't going to
Navy
change.
money line, go.
Yeah, obviously.
Mhm.
Maybe we take a different prop bet. See if
All
it
right,
hits.
we'll see.
I'm taking the under.
Got it.
For those that
Let's see
don't know,
what that is.
it was-
you
it
might
was-
be able to take that.
it was the first. Last year was the first time the under didn't hit in that game, and you and I were there watching as it went to overtime.
Is that right?
That's the first
Because
time.
remember when Malcolm Perry was tripped up by a shoestring? That was like a 10-3 game.
Yeah, but even that, like, it was the first time the under did not hit. Think about it. Even when Navy's done well, maybe
that means
the
under
line
would've
would
hit.
the
Never
line.
mind.
No,
But I answered my own question.
You did.
The under would have hit. Yeah.
But when Navy and Army were both like good, like with Keenan Reynolds with the team, and Army had a pretty solid quarterback. I forget his name at the time. the line was obviously higher, right? So now like the line might be 33 because both offenses can't really score that much. Although Army has been on a bit of a streak, so
I'll check the weather. I may take the over. In that
we'll
game.
go over jerseys too because those are always really cool.
Yeah.
We'll both wear ours too, our updated silent service jerseys. But
Right.
all right, let's get into the NFL. We had early action. Let's review picks first. Actually, I'm gonna go over picks record for college. By the way, I'm at 435 win percentage. You're at 429. That's
A
how
tie.
slim the margin is.
A stupid
it's
tie.
not. Oh yeah, the tie. I'm sorry. I thought you meant like that's basically a tie.
No,
it's
the
not.
stupid tie cost me.
And for the NFL, after this week, I still have 2 games left, by the way, or 2 picks left. I have the Chiefs spread, so they're -6, I think, for this game.
Okay, go Packers.
And Travis Kelce, anytime touchdown scorer.
All right. Is
So-
Taylor Swift in town?
I don't know. But I'm 14-8 as it stands right now, as Sunday night is being played while we record this. And you're 9-6-1. So I actually
another
do
tie.
Yeah, I have that, and which happened today. So
Chargers.
let's go over picks. Your picks first. Go ahead.
All right, so Chargers laying 6 at New England. It was a push.
Gotta love the push. Let's go.
6-0 in an NFL game. Granted, it was pouring rain. But
Which brings my well, we can interject here and talk some of these games. I want nothing to be ever said about Kellen Moore ever again. Nothing.
Yeah.
He is not a good coach. He is not a good offensive coordinator. He might be a good player guy. Because Dak loved him. I'm sure Justin Herbert loves him, which is great. He was a very good college quarterback. You know, unconventional kind of like how he play calls things. But we were watching that game. That was one of the games we had on today, and some of the play calls were just so bad, so bad. On I think 3rd and 3, he tries like an obvious like sweep with Eckler, who like motioned from side to side, and finally like went in motion for the backfield. Like this ball is clearly going to Eckler. You have like all movement going around to try to like deceive it. What their offense has taken a step back, the Chargers, in my opinion, and the Cowboys have exceeded. So honestly, to tell you the truth, Kellen Moore is a problem. The Chargers would be doing a lot better if they got rid of him, and I think he's just a giant waste of space.
I don't know that they'll get rid of him as much as they'll get rid of Staley above him. So
I don't think a coach. Because the only reason he was kept in Dallas when Mike McCarthy came in is because Jerry Jones wanted him. I don't think a new coach coming into LA will keep him on his staff.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
that's true, but yeah, I got what you're saying. So that was just gross football.
6-0, right? That was the final
Gross
score.
wet day that cost me a tie. So
Yeah, it might cost me a fantasy matchup. I'm undefeated, and you and I are going head to head. And Keenan Allen, who is a PPR and yard machine, got nothing today because of it. So
bad managing on your part.
you're rolling with a hot hand. He's one of the best receivers in the
Should have
league.
checked the weather.
Yeah, apparently.
Second game was Broncos +3.5 in Houston, and this is one of those games we were talking about earlier where Houston jumped out early on Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Denver looked all disheveled, and as well as they had been playing, they looked like game or week 1, 2, and 3 Denver. But Russ turned it around. They started to play. They got close. They were driving late. It was 1st and goal, and they couldn't punch it in, which would have given them not just the cover but the win.
Yeah.
So that's a loss.
Yeah, and we actually had head to head on that one. I had Houston -3.5, so that's a win for me. But what's more impressive? 2 things are impressive in that game. One, Houston's a playoff team. Houston is a playoff team. Their defense is good. CJ Stroud is good.
Yeah.
They got weapons. I mean, they just lost when Tank Dell is done for the year with a fractured leg. I forget the bone, but that's what leg.
Fibula or tibia?
I think fibula.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. But that's why I wasn't sure. It's one of those 2, right? Like those are really the only 2 that
The
people
Liberty
break.
Bibbidi bone.
Yeah, exactly. The Liberty Bibbidi. But so that I think they're a playoff team, and watch out for the Broncos. They can get some wins during the year, and they could be a wild card team. And
Now I said that last week, and you smirked at me when I made this.
because
pick.
you were talking about Houston, and I think Houston's
but
better.
I was talking about Denver and how they've turned around, and Sean Payton should be given Coach of the Year consideration.
No, that's what I smirked at.
Yeah,
I
you
think that's
smirked at the whole
ridiculous.
thing.
No.
Yes, you did.
The Sean Payton Coach of the Year thing is ridiculous to me.
Really? How good was Denver last year with the same players?
Well, that's coaching. I mean, again.
Hello, Coach of the Year.
No. Let me rephrase that. It just shows you how bad of a coach Hackett is, despite
And how
what
good
the
of a
Jets
coach Peyton
and
is.
try. Yes, he's a good coach, but is it really Coach of the Year material? Like, think about all the coaches out there, and is there any one team that surprises you that's doing much better than you think? Honestly, the Texans coach could possibly do it.
Could. I wouldn't argue that.
I'd argue him over because the expectations for Sean Payton going in there was you're going to right the ship. Now, granted, it took him a little bit while. It seems like he has righted the ship, but the expectations were there. And I'm not saying that's fair, like a fair criteria of like, hey, like you didn't correct the ship as quickly as we thought you would, right? The fact that he's doing it, yes, but I think there are other coaches more deserving of that.
There may be. All I said was he should get consideration for.
Yeah.
So
you know who shouldn't,
take
by
your
the way?
smirk and shove it.
You know who shouldn't?
Who?
Kellen Moore. He shouldn't deserve anything.
I think
Kick
you've already-
that guy out
I
of
think you've
LA.
already said that.
Yeah. Go
All
ahead.
right. So then my last pick of the week, which is my favorite pick of the week.
Hell
where
yeah.
the San Francisco 49ers came into Philadelphia and not only covered the 2 points, but crushed the Eagles, which I was so happy to see.
Hoorah.
For a lot of reasons. Number one, it does put a little chink in the armor for the Eagles.
Mhm.
They're now at 10-2, with the
Big matchup next
Cowboys
week,
being
yep.
at 9-3.
Huge.
Next weekend's matchup is significant,
Potential.
as it always is.
Yeah.
in a rivalry game, but this is significant, and especially since, I was of the impression, I know you were too, that the Cowboys actually outplayed the Eagles in
absolutely.
Philadelphia
Yes.
and lost the game. So I'll put my money where my mouth is. I want the Cowboys to go out there and take care of business.
I'm excited for 2 reasons. One, you and I both won that one. I took money line. You took Niners giving the points away.
Which makes mine's better, so it should be a bonus pick.
Sure.
I should
sure.
get a bonus.
It didn't matter. It did not matter. But it was huge on multiple fronts. One, yes, it essentially makes it kind of. It's obviously too early in the season to say it's NFC East championship game because obviously there's a lot of games in between. Cowboys have to play Bills, Dolphins, and the Commies at the end of the year, which you never know. Like I said, rivalry games throw them out the window. You never know what could happen. You just hope that they stay healthy.
Well, you also don't know at that point. Are there any playoff implications? Are the Cowboys resting people?
Well, assuming both these teams continue to win, because they're both very good teams, Eagles, Cowboys.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be a game that matters no matter what, because you're gonna need to win. You can't beat the Eagles. That's why I say defend almost, because you can't beat the Eagles. Be like, yep, we wrapped it up. No, you have the same record.
Yep.
You just happen to have the tiebreaker. I think at that point, I'm not entirely sure. I know they'll obviously have split. When it comes down to like opponents, they both lost to the Niners. Cowboys beat the Jets, where the Eagles lost to them. So
Huge.
it could be right. So
Either way, it makes for a great Sunday next weekend.
right, it does. And honestly, what makes it even bigger too is the fact that the Niners are also a 3-loss team. Well, and you already said this isn't only for the divisions, for a potential top spot. Cowboys are phenomenal at home, so. You come into that game, Cowboys are on a high, you think, okay, they might lose focus if it doesn't mean as much. Like if the Eagles won today, it might be like, okay, are they going to kind of be like, okay, it doesn't really matter? And obviously it matters. I don't think any player would have that, outward look on it, but there's that little thing in the back of your head that's been like, okay, like at least just get through it healthy. We're going to see them again in the playoffs, like whatever. But now it's like, okay, you're fully locked in. There's no doubt. There's no this doesn't matter. Like, no, this is the most important game at this point in the
playoff
schedule.
positioning. It's significant, or could be significant.
Absolutely. So it is a huge game. I'm looking forward to that. And, you got the Cowboys on a hot streak. You got the Eagles coming off a loss. So there's going to be a ton of stuff that happens there, which actually kind of brings me to talking more about the Eagles-Niners game. They had that weird ejection point in the game where Greenlaw does like the whole, and we've seen it more and more over the last few weeks, but like that suplex type of tackle, which I disagree with the NFL stance on it, is if like, sure, the whistle may blow, but everybody talks about how you can't hear things in stadiums, especially because of all the crowd noise and everything. So if a player can't hear whistles, right? Why are we penalizing them for continuing? If the offensive player is fighting and fighting and fighting,
it's not the whistle. It's the manner in which they tackle. You can't. They're basically saying you can't pick up somebody and throw them back on the the shoulder, neck, head area, which is what that suplex tackle is.
But I think it's any pickup, which again.
No, because if you come into a guy, you put your shoulder pad in his belly and you scoop up his legs, you're not gonna get a flag for that.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not as big of a fan about that call as a lot of people are, but it is interesting because it did start like a whole brawl, obviously. Not a whole brawl. a little skirmish that led to other like skirmishes throughout the game. But this one was kind of interesting because Greenlaw, who made the suplex, got up, and the head of security for the Eagles.
Jordy Love touchdown, Packers.
Shit.
Sorry.
For those listening, Big D has Jordan Love in his super flex spot going against me. I have Kelsey and Pacheco in this game, so if you hear us reacting, that's why. But
Sorry.
So no, you're good. So like the head of security jumps in, which I thought was kind of weird to begin with, like how he immediately jumped in. Like it happened on the sideline. Like
Yeah.
I always think sideline guys escalate it more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because they get hypersensitive to what just happened. But so he steps in, he puts his hand. So like obviously I don't think Greenlaw knows who this guy is. He
Right.
just knows he's on the sideline. He's not a coach, right?
Big fat white guy is on the side.
Right, exactly. He put his hands on him and then pushes him.
Yeah.
While there's refs in between them.
Yeah.
Greenlaw kind of like does like a full extension, like and grazes his nose. So not only did Greenlaw get a personal foul on that play, 15 yards, gets
fined.
tossed for the game. Yeah, probably will get fined, which
Not
is
probably,
innocent.
he will be.
Yeah, and then the head of security got tossed. But like, what to me, if I'm the NFL, I have a bigger issue with this guy touching a player
100%.
than what Greenlaw like. Because
I agree.
again, Greenlaw threw
Because
a
it
punch.
becomes self-defense in a sense. For Greenlaw,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he gets pushed by a guy
I
he
wanna go
doesn't
big.
know on the sideline,
Yeah.
you're. I mean, mentality-wise, I want to defend myself. Who is this guy?
Yeah,
Right? Where the other guy is supposed to be the professional.
yeah.
And security guys are there they're there to separate, to break up,
Right.
to prevent circumstances from getting worse.
Right.
He created a worse situation, and then of course because of the mentality becomes a Philadelphia hero.
Yeah, he was getting like a standing O on the way out. Like, yeah, Philly. They continue to be the worst, like, people in the world. I'm just gonna say, like, the worst.
I
Philly's
have
just
some
the
friends
worst.
that are Philadelphia fans.
No, I know we know Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, it's just
Well,
one
we
of
do
those
know
things.
Rick Lovato too.
Which is why we know
Right.
Jalen Hurts.
Yes,
like I was just
exactly.
skipping like no, but like so like I didn't say he's the worst. He's not from Philly.
No,
like
no,
he just
he
happens to play in Philly. Like their fans continue to be the worst.
Any fans that go to the extremes. I mean, Dodger Giants. Giant fans. I was at a New England Patriot game in Foxborough years ago, and there's this dumb schmuck wearing a Cleveland Brown jersey.
Yeah.
They were playing the Browns.
Yeah.
But he was, kind of getting all animated, and people. I mean, he couldn't sit for a minute without getting hit by some piece of food or a cup or. It's just chill out and let people watch the game. That's all.
No, I agree, and it kind of happened today in the Saints game too. And I felt bad for him too because Derek Carr is giving that team his all. They're just not a good team.
Yeah.
And in fact, nobody in the South is actually. Did you know that the Panthers, who are 1-10, still are not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs because they're in that division?
That's bad.
It's amazing to me. So he comes onto the field after Taysom Hill comes in from it, gets booed by the fans, and then he later gets hurt. He's in concussion protocol. He hurt his shoulder too. Like I just don't get that. Like why he's on your team, right? Like, and it's kind of the same thing with me with like Jet fans and Zach Wilson too. Like, and it sounds like I love Zach Wilson when we talk on this podcast, but I just think he's unfairly hated, and I'm willing to hate on certain players. Like I have hated on players my entire existence. Like it just happens. Like, but I always feel like they're justified. Zach Wilson, I think last year the hate was justified. He comes out like you don't think you could have done more for the team. He's like he gives a shrug. He has
no
like the pouty
humility,
face,
yeah.
right? I think under like even just the off-season tutelage of Aaron Rodgers, like, and I'm getting too much on Zach Wilson, but like I think the hate hasn't been justified this year. Derek Carr, same thing. Like, here's a guy who gave Oakland / Las Vegas all he had. Never, got hurt that one year that they were 13-3. They were looking like the team to beat.
Yeah.
In the AFC. I think they beat the Chiefs twice that year. Like, they're just phenomenal, right? He never was really the same after, I think it was a torn ACL. So, like, it's just tough. And then he comes to New Orleans after being discarded in Las Vegas, which we all know by now. Like, McDaniels scrambled to try to get him back, but it was already too late. So, like, you have that. And then he's just, like, he has Chris Olave as the only wide receiver. Their running backs aren't that great. Obviously, Kamara is still a good running back, but he missed the first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
He's always been better in a pair with, especially when it was like him and Mark Ingram. But like it's just an unjustifiable hatred.
No,
that I've
it
never
might be more
understood.
that people love Taysom Hill because he's the gadget player, and he had. Honestly, I thought when it was down to him or Shameless Winston to be starting quarterback,
Yeah.
that Taysom Hill was the better option. He's just
Yeah.
and he played well, but somehow he just can't. And I think that's part of the spirit that you're feeling is that people really want Taysom
Yeah.
Hill. They love him because all the things he's done for New Orleans.
No, he's a very likable guy. But like
Yeah.
again, all the things he does for New Orleans, like Derek Carr gives to charities and stuff like that. Like he's a likable guy.
Yeah.
I just they hate.
Fans are irrational. That's why it's short for fanatic.
No, you're right. And that brings me to New England where Bailey Zappi got the start today. They ended up losing to the Chargers. As you said, 6-0. So like again, just like the Jets when they trade out Zach Wilson for these other two, nothing changes. It's not the quarterback, right? Like this is the Patriots' third straight loss when holding an opponent to under 10 points or fewer. The last time that happened, you want to guess what year it was?
I don't know. Oh, the year that Brady got hurt?
No, not just the Patriots in NFL history, by the way.
NFL.
Yeah, NFL history.
I have no idea.
It was during the Roosevelt administration. FDR, by the way. 1938 was the last time that happened, which is crazy to me. So like they're historically bad on offense, and again, it's not just the quarterback. But a team that had improved their quarterback situation this weekend was the Browns. Joe Flacco looked good.
Yeah.
He looked elite. As I'll say, I know that's a low.
He had a very good game until
elite.
the end when he was pressing, but no, he played really well.
Yeah. How much of that was LA though? LA's defense, like I think again, they're a little underrated. They're a team that you got to watch out on the NFC side for the playoffs. We just talked about the Broncos. Like, Aaron Donald's still Aaron Donald.
Yes, he is.
But
it took him till the very end of the game to get involved, which he did.
Yeah,
safety.
But I mean, again, like the Browns' defense is the number one defense in the league, and there was no sack until the end for the Rams. So I said that weird. The Rams.
Just officially, Taylor Swift is on hand to watch Travis.
There you go. Let's see it. He's gonna have a big game. You're in trouble.
Just dropped the ball.
You're in trouble.
Oh, there's one. He caught it.
There you go. You're in trouble now. So, by the way, that's 2 references for you today and none for me.
Well,
So
you might change it up a little bit.
But one thing in LA I saw today, which you're not gonna like, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in attendance.
Yeah.
He got alpha though.
He got what?
He got alpha.
By what?
Alpha male, like alpha.
Who's bigger than Kareem in LA?
So Fox, who was covering the game, showed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They put the little thing underneath him. Second all-time leader in scoring NBA history. Hold on though, and in not a press box, in a luxury suite up at the top, King James himself was in the building, and they put literally right after him. It was second, and then and then this guy, first leading scorer in NBA history. It's like, oh.
So we
don't
all
see that a
know
lot.
that Kareem is the true all-time scoring leader for the NBA. And when you're a self-proclaimed king, you're the king of nothing.
Can you justify why you say that though? Like why he's the self-proclaimed and I mean, the real NBA scoring
Because
leader?
a good chunk of LeBron's scoring came from the three-point range.
No, he's not a good 3-point shooter.
I didn't say he was
You
good.
like to say that
I
Kareem
said
never shot a 3 in his life?
He has.
Yeah.
He has.
Your old stat used to be like he never shot a 3. I was like, Kareem did it without shooting a 3.
He probably shot a skyhook 3.
Yeah. He shot I think it was 20, right? He's made 20 out of 50 or something like that.
Year career. But first of all, there was no 3-point arc for the majority.
When he originally
great
started.
majority.
When it was Lou Alcindor.
For the great majority of his career.
When it was Lou.
No, even deep into his Kareem years. And then, second of all, when it came to play in the NBA, when the 3-point arc did, he was not the guy to be taking them. He might have taken a couple joke ones here or there. But, I mean, the 3-point arc has just completely changed the game, for sure. And LeBron, although he may not be considered a good 3-point shooter, he still had a good chunk of points from the 3-point arc.
Yeah, I'll say this. LeBron obviously got a lot better as the years went on in 3-point shooting. He definitely started off not very good. I think he was like a sub-40 3-point shooter, which is never good.
It used to be 35% was good until Steph Curry came along and started.
Right, but now it's
things
like
up.
41%. You need to be good. But
So yeah, I don't think he's the alpha.
no, I didn't say he is the alpha. I said he got alpha.
Yeah,
so
whatever.
Fox basically put him in his chair put him in a seat. I was like, here, little boy, hold on to this while we show the number one, which I thought was disrespectful. I mean,
It is.
how dare they?
It's horrible.
What are they doing? How dare they disrespect Lou Alcindor like that? That is just wrong on so many levels.
Don't be a wise guy. You're being sarcastic right now. I can smell it.
All right, before we get to our picks, you want to talk about anything on the NFL before I move on? Tiger's
no.
back. We can talk about Tiger. You're a
I
challenge.
don't even want to talk about that right now.
What?
It's nice that he's back. I'm happy for him, and it sounds like he's
I love
playing
Tiger.
without pain. And I love Tiger too, but that's not really relevant right now. So.
Wow, that's rude. Tiger's always relevant. How dare you?
And as far as the NFL, no, I have nothing else to say. Other
Alright.
than go Jordan Love, go Packers.
Okay, fair enough. So that means that before we move on to, we're going to do a starting five. I know how much people missed that from last weekend or last Monday. I want to just quick notes on other things in sports. When one of them was Tigers back, so that already wasted that one. The other one is baseball a little bit. I love this time of year for baseball because to me it's the more interesting part of baseball at this point in my life. It's the
To see what moves.
yeah, the back office executive
Hot
levels.
stove.
Yeah, the winter meetings are right around the corner, so a lot of stuff is happening. I mean, Yankees are in talk. I know, especially as a Yankee fan, like they're always in talk for something. But, the Juan Soto trades are heating up. I think they stalled a little bit for the Yankees this week. The rumor is because they wanted Mike King, who I've always liked as one of our pitchers, and I think he might even be going down as a starter this year because he impressed as a starter towards the end of the year. But they wanted Mike King, one of our young pitchers, like one of our top younger pitchers, and like 6 other prospects for Juan Soto and one other person. I don't know if I'd ever give up that much for a 1 year. Granted, the Yankees obviously will. They say the Yankees will have a chance to extend, but Soto's a Boris guy, and Boris never extends. He always lets people hit free
So they
agency.
said when A-Rod came to the Yankees.
Well, A-Rod, he did hit free agency.
Yeah.
He opted out. He hit free agency.
But he ended up with the Yankees.
Yeah.
It's a
the
play.
Yankees,
It's
but
what,
also-
it's what agents do.
right, but also George Steinbrenner was back then, so like
Yeah.
he wasn't afraid to pay a little bit more. I don't know what Hal will do in that situation. I mean, obviously, they shelled out for Aaron Judge, and then Yamamoto's on the block for the Yankees, but didn't stop me. If you heard this before, the San Francisco Giants are on the edge of getting him. So just like they got Arson Judge last year, I'll be interested to see if they get Yamamata instead of Yamamoto. So that's
And then the Ohtani watch is still out there. And apparently the Rangers, the Mets, and one other team pulled out. Because they don't have the money. The Rangers spent a buttload of money.
Yeah.
To get the roster to where it was last year between Seager and DeGrom and some of the other guys that they dropped a ton of money on.
Not Scherzer though.
Not sure.
He's still getting
No,
paid by the Mets.
of course.
Yeah.
The Mets paid for a lot of people for a long time.
I thought that's maybe why why the Mets dropped, because they're paying for everybody else's rosters and they can't afford to pay their own. Plus, they still have oh no, why am I forgetting his name right now?
Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah, Bobby Bonilla. They still have to pay Bobby Bonilla
So
every
the
April.
Orioles, by the way.
So
Orioles are paying for Bonilla.
no,
too.
they're done. That
Are they
ended.
done?
That ended 2 years ago. Yeah, the Mets are still on the hook. I
Mets
believe.
till 2025,
Yeah.
I think.
I think Bonilla was
Or
20.
longer.
No, it's not. I think it is longer. I have to look it up again. I have it on my calendar when Bobby Bonilla Day is. So when that hits and we do a podcast, we will dedicate a whole podcast to Bobby Bonilla Day.
It's July 1st, isn't it?
It's somewhere around there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that and I have Robin Ventura Day circled on my calendar. That'll be a
Painful
good
day.
one.
No, but
What do you
so
mean,
it'll be
painful
interesting
day?
to see where Shohei Ohtani goes.
Yeah. Although I will say this, somebody brought this up and I actually found it interesting. To trade 6 prospects for Soto and sign Yamamoto, and then obviously the subsequent signing of Soto obviously next year. I don't know why I'm saying Juan Soto weird, but Soto.
As you said,
yeah, I think
Yamamoto.
Yamamoto. Yeah, I'm in the Japanese pronunciation of names right now. But having him doing that is probably the equivalent of signing Ohtani when you think about it in terms of the money you had to put out. So I'm also interested to see, and I forget his name. It's like something Hoku or something like that.
Watch yourself.
He's a Korean baseball outfielder
Yeah.
who's going to be on the market. I think tomorrow. I think he's going to be put up there
Oh, there
for
she
bidding.
is. Voldemort's there.
You've said her name
I know.
twice
But
already.
now I'm looking at her.
Whoa,
so-
wait a minute. Maybe it's like Beetlejuice. Maybe we say her name 3 times. She'll go, Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift. It didn't work. Damn it.
Which, by the way, was one of the funniest lines in the new Frasier.
Yeah.
The episode that Lilith is in.
Yeah.
He comes around the corner and he wasn't expecting her. And he's like, "Oh, who said your name 3 times?"
That's good. That's on my show list. We'll have to cover shows and movies because we're both pretty good at least movie watching on one of these episodes. But
Yeah.
I think it's time. I think I've delayed it long enough. Let's get to our starting 5. I
Okay.
forget whose turn it is to go number 1, but I am a gracious host.
Can we
As
can
you
we just
are,
interject
so-
one thing?
Well, go ahead. You can interject whatever. It's our podcast.
I know, but before we
If you're a guest, I'd say, fuck no, get away. No, I'm
before we get
kidding.
to the starting 5, I was kind of looking through college basketball a little bit,
Okay.
and there was some.
You bring up Duke, I'm going to throw my bottle at you.
Well, I bring.
Oh,
them-
you are?
No. I bring them up in the context of teams that were upset over the weekend. So Purdue lost, UConn lost. Although the UConn lost to Kansas, so I wouldn't really consider that an upset.
I want to consider that an upset.
Marquette loses. Duke loses again.
Why you got to say it like that?
Because it's their 3rd loss. And
It's
this
their
time-
second
this-
loss. It's their second loss.
It's their 3rd.
Second.
They lost to 2 A teams and now a G team.
No, they lost to Arkansas and Arizona.
And then they lost to.
Oh, Georgia Tech. Shoot,
Thank
I forgot
you.
about that one too.
Duh. Throw your bottle at yourself. But as I was looking
Screw
through
you,
this,
farmer.
as I was looking through the scores, something caught my eye, and I was like, "No way! College basketball." James Madison, 130 to 59.
Holy crap! Who'd they beat?
Keystone.
Oh, that's-
but still 130 points. Then Hampton beat Virginia Lynchburg 121 to 66, and Sanford beat LaGrange 128 to 82.
I'm gonna say shame on you for a sec because you built that up like Jem. You upset somebody 130
No,
to
no,
59.
no.
You said all the upsets this weekend.
No, if
and
you were
JMU.
listening, and
I was listening. I'll play
crying
it
at
back.
the fact that Georgia Tech beat Duke for the 3rd loss that you were
Look.
willfully ignoring. I had transferred that to, as I continued to look down the score, something caught my eye. And
Look,
so-
if we know anything in the John
Was that a
Shire,
red flag?
Coach Shire, if we know anything in the Coach Shire era, is that we're slow starters.
okay.
Duke is slow starters under Coach Shire. I'm not in love with it. I'll accept it. I'm not in love with it, but I'll accept it. And Duke will be a national champion this year, and that's it.
Okay.
To seek undefeated national championship is something that I think no team should do.
No, that has passed with Bobby Knight.
Yeah, I think Indiana is obviously going to be the last team. It's incredibly hard nowadays with all the movement of players. So, look, that used to be my dream as a Duke fan. That hey, we're going to get an undefeated championship. But no, I've come to the realization it's better to lose early. That way, when it comes time for the big one, you got those scars. Your battle test. You're like, okay, we've dealt with the losses, the emotions. We know how it feels, and we're gonna do everything in our power not to feel that way ever again. And boom, there you go. So I'm okay
I
with
guess
this.
it's lost in the wash that Hampton was one of those big scores. Didn't Hampton beat Duke at one point in the tournament?
No, get
Oh,
out
it
of
was
here.
Mercer.
Get out of
Mercer,
here with
something
your
like that.
yeah.
Anyway,
You're just a bitter mid-major fan. All right, I was gonna give you the first pick, but screw you.
No, you go ahead.
We're going
You
picks. I'm taking my guy Reggie Bush at number 1. Well, by the way, this starting 5 is favorite college football players that you've seen.
Yes.
So not necessarily the best, but your favorite. I'm going first. I'm taking Reggie Bush. So boom.
that means I get the next 2.
It does mean you get the next 2, and I know what you're gonna do, but I'm okay with it because I have so many other.
You don't know what I'm going to do.
I do. You're gonna go Navy.
No, I'm
here.
not actually.
Okay.
How about that?
I thought you were
So
gonna go 2-2.
my first pick would be none other than Herschel Walker.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Of course, national
You-
champ, Heisman Trophy,
Yeah.
Maxwell Trophy.
I'll say that you have the advantage, and it's tough because a lot of these names will be synonymous with the NFL,
Yeah.
but it's strictly thinking about what they did in college.
Oh yeah.
So like, to me, Reggie Bush was the human highlight. Like nobody, in my opinion, there isn't a better college football player than Reggie
you
Bush.
did not get to see Herschel play.
But I was gonna say you have had the privilege of
Yeah.
seeing a lot more college football players than I have. So some of your guys may I'm sure some listeners, especially our older listeners, will be like, "Oh, well, your list is better." It's like, okay, well, I haven't seen Herschel Walker.
No,
I didn't see
the condition
yeah.
was we had to see that.
Yeah.
I get it.
I didn't
So,
see Herschel Walker play NFL football.
No. When he was a Cowboy, he was good.
Yeah.
You didn't see him with the New Jersey Generals there either. Did
No,
you?
well, I think his last year might have been 1995. So again, there's photographic evidence of me watching football in 1995. There's also like photographic evidence of me, or probably not, you can't see it, tell on the photo, but there's a large dump in my pants in 1995 at 3 years old while watching football.
I hope not at 3.
Or 2, whatever, who knows.
So yeah, Herschel Walker. I mean, I think he won. I know he won the Heisman Trophy. I think he won it his junior year.
I think he won it twice, didn't he? Is he
No,
one of the
he
rare
only
people
got
that
it
won
the
it twice?
one time.
Okay.
What's his name? Archie Griffin. I think is the only one to win it twice.
Oh, that's your second guy.
No, he was before me. My second guy, and I actually went back to put him in place because I found myself leaning heavy on the offensive side.
Yeah.
Which is the tendency to do, right? In sports.
I have a lot of offensive guys, so yeah.
So number 2, I went with Ndamukong Suh.
Oh, that's a good one.
And
Nebraska.
really, it was 1 year, his senior year in 2009. He just went off. I mean, as I was going through this, just as a reminder, Outland Trophy, Lombardi Award, Nagurski Trophy, Bednarik Award, Willis Trophy, College Player of the Year, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year, all Big 12 All-American.
Yeah.
He just had a monster senior year. And so, yeah, he was ripping it up.
No, I don't have a whole lot of defense guys on my list, but he was one of them because I agree. Like, before all the antics in the NFL, which you can beg to differ, like, back then they probably weren't as, or they were just like migrating away from those type of antics as like the enforcer tough guy, whatever. Although I did think he stepped on somebody once, so like
that's pros.
Yeah, that's why I said on the NFL side, like it. But in college, I don't think there is in my time a more feared defender. And on my list there may be 1 or 2.
Yeah,
but he's definitely up there when you talk about most feared defender in college. So yeah, that's a great pick. But on what I just said, most feared defender, the guy, my next pick, nobody wanted to see lining up against him on the offensive side. And that is, it's Tebow time. Mr. Tim Tebow himself.
Yeah.
You saw him line up against you. 1, you knew you were probably losing the game. 2, Jesus wasn't on your side. And 3, that guy was going to do whatever it took to win. Like, again, didn't carry over to the pros, except when it came time to beating the Steelers on an 80-yard play to Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah.
Like, I love pointing that out because Uncle Mark's a Steelers fan. So, and I know he listens. So shout out you, Uncle Mark. But Tim Tebow has to go down as maybe not the best college, because I think Reggie Bush in my era is the best college football player just based on skill. But he's the best. How do I want to phrase this? He's the most valuable, I'll say. He's the most valuable college player because he would do whatever it took to win.
Yeah.
I don't think
he actually made my honorable mention list.
Okay.
And he was the first one because it's the first 5. So go ahead. What's your
and then my third guy I'm going to steal from our collective list here probably because I know you probably have him, probably not high on the list. But Keenan Reynolds. He was one of the guys from Navy football.
You know who I really love in college football?
Who?
Jordan Love, who just threw a second touchdown.
Did he really?
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Keenan Reynolds was a stud. He was.
Yeah. I can't even think now. NCAA all-time leading rushing touchdown scorer. I don't think he lost to Army. I know that's not true. He lost to Army once when he was there. I believe on that. Was it him or Malcolm Perry, that shoestring tackle?
That was Malcolm Perry.
Was it? Okay, so I don't think
in the snow.
Right. I don't think Keenan Reynolds lost to Army while he was there. Navy constantly won like 10 games. We're bowl eligible by like November. So
He was tough.
Yeah, it's been lean without him, but he's one of my favorite players too, and he comes from a long list of my favorite Navy players. I just tried to diversify and not have all Navy players on this list. So, I could very well have gone all Navy and been fine with that. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, considering that probably out of all the college football you watch, Navy's probably been the most consistent team, obviously, so that you had a lot of exposure. But
yeah.
All right, so my next 2, number 3. So number 3 on my list is Doug Flutie.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and like to the Tim Tebow concept. Although Doug Flutie was not at Tim Tebow's level, I don't think, but there's that kind of underdog nature to him that he's not the prototypical quarterback. But you love to root for him, even when he went into the pros. A lot of people were just hoping he did great stuff. But that Hail Mary for BC when they beat Notre Dame, put him on the map. And Yeah.
I mean, you see it every year during this time of year too. That play, and
Yeah.
you know, the guy was so he had his own cereal, Fruity Flakes. Sorry, like I mean, yeah, it's hard.
I just like the whole underdog story with him
Yeah.
that he carries. And then my fourth guy is a Navy guy,
Okay.
who I saw play quite a bit. No, it's not Roger Staubach.
No. I know it's not Roger Staubach. I'm nervous. It might be one of my guys, though. So
Napoleon McCallum.
Okay, no, he's not one of my guys. I didn't see him play.
When he was a junior, was a Heisman candidate until he broke his leg in Game 3 against Virginia, which he did not belong in because we were losing by too many points with a minute something left, and that's when he broke his leg. But anyway, he came back. He had a great year. He was a phenomenal runner to watch. Very upright. Actually, I saw today Derrick Henry run.
Yeah.
As I'm doing this, I said McCallum reminded me of him because he was upright and big and strong.
Yeah.
You know, as a runner, and then he actually did pretty well in the pros with the Raiders and the Chargers. Unfortunately, having two major knee injuries.
Yeah.
That ultimately sided.
Yeah, and back then knee injuries weren't fixable. Like Adrian Peterson fixable now. They're
his second injury, there was no fixing that. I think the kneecap went
Theismann, like,
it was nasty. Yeah.
Oh, was it like that guy on the sideline of the game today? What game was that, by the way, at the NFL game? It wasn't Niners. No, it was one of the 1 o'clock games. It was the Saints game.
Oh, yeah.
That was not. If you haven't looked it up and you like that kind of stuff, or just want to look it up, like in the Saints game today, Alvin Kamara gets tackled on the sideline, and one of the sideline. He's like one of those guys wearing like the security vest or like the traffic vest, whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they had the ball or he's part of like I guess spotting. He's an official for the NFL. Yeah, they flashed away from his. They were like panning away as Alvin Kamara was getting up, and his leg was like literally in a direction it shouldn't have been.
It was in an L shape.
Yeah, it was not good.
Tibia
you can make your leg in an L shape. It's just not the way you want it to be.
Not your lower leg.
Yeah,
there was no joint involved.
Yeah,
it was a compound fracture of the tibia fibula for sure.
Yeah, that was not
gross.
Good. Thanks, Doc.
But yeah, McCallum would be my fourth pick.
That's a good one. All right, so me for 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many good players.
If you pick one, I've only went one more. So if you pick my guy, I'm screwed. But go ahead.
For current play, and he's quickly become one of my favorite players just because of how impressive he is, and I mentioned him a few times on here. See, I don't even know if I should mention him though, because there's so many. I'm going to go with Maserati Marv. Marvin Harrison. He's been one of my favorite players to watch over the last few years. Sure, yeah. I've always had the idea that the Cowboys could somehow get him in the draft. It's not going to happen because we're going to win the Super Bowl this year. So there's that. And then he also may stay to make $10 million in NIL money. And then my last one is going to be a Navy guy, just so you know. Is it Malcolm? No, it's not Malcolm. I'm going to go with Diego Fagot.
Oh, Fagot.
That was my guy. I needed a defender on here. And I was going to go Nick Bosa next because he was actually phenomenal at Ohio State.
Yeah.
But I got to stay true. You just mentioned it. I watch more Navy football, I think, than anything else. And, when it comes to college football. And Diego Fagot, he was one of those guys that they've like kind of pseudo-retired his number. It only goes to like the top linebacker in the group for that year, and they have to be a senior like they did to
which is a cool tribute,
right, which they've done for the offensive lineman in 68, and now it's like that for Navy. So that's what they do. That's why Ramos wears 54 after wearing like 56 for the last few years. He wears Diego Fagot's 54. And you know, he's still trucking along in the NFL. You know, we've talked about him earlier, practice squad. I think he's on the Patriots practice squad, but has like the injury designation. So here's the hope when he gets there. But let's hear yours, and then we can do some honorable mentions before signing off. So go ahead.
Yeah, my number 5, and I was trying to think of somebody a little bit different, and it came to mind very quickly, was Desmond Howard.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, he was. I hated watching him play. He was just so good. But he was like an X Factor kind of guy originally, and then tremendous receiver, and he, of course, went on in the pros to win the MVP in the Super Bowl because he returned one kick for a touchdown, the other one like
Packers.
Yeah. So Desmond Howard was exciting.
The original Heisman pose too, right?
Yep. He's the one that did that.
Michigan guy. No, that's a good one. You definitely threw me for a loop there when you said you're not gonna go Malcolm. I thought I was gonna steal your guy. I was like, no. I mean, I wasn't gonna go Malcolm. He's like top of my honorable, but I already mentioned Nick Bosa. But if it weren't for Nick Bosa, Malcolm Perry was next on my list. another Navy guy, Ricky Dobbs. I loved Ricky Dobbs when he played for Navy. They always said that he was like going to be president one day. He works at like somewhere high up in naval offices now. So he's on my honorable mention list. We had Tavon Austin, who was just a lightning bolt of speed at West Virginia. Noshawn Moreno, who I have actually played against. Well, I've been flattened by him. Is the right way
So
to
you
phrase
know
that?
Noshawn.
Yeah. So I know him personally, like intimately, as they say. Right? Like he put his boot on my chest. I tackled him though because he fell. So that's right, Noshawn. Gotcha. Matt Leinart was on my list. Steven Jackson, you remember him? He played for the Falcons for years, Texas. Everybody said he was like big Ricky Williams style. Come on, you gotta remember him. He played in the Rams, I should say. He played for the Rams mostly when he came in.
It's not.
Everybody thought the Cowboys were gonna draft him that year.
Yeah.
How do you not remember Steven Jackson? Vince Young is on my honorable mention list. Percy Harvin, who again was another one of the lightning bolt like tool guys, but at Florida. And then Run DMC, Darren McFadden was on my list. So I don't know if you had any more.
You have a long list. Well, Malcolm Perry would definitely be there. I was just thinking of somebody. Chase Young when he was.
Yeah, another Ohio State great. He was
a
phenomenal.
beast. Jadeveon Clowney, another one that.
I had him on my list, but I was like, was he really like? Again, it was favorite players, and I don't remember what else he did outside of that one hit against Michigan.
Well, and the reason why I didn't even bring him up or put him on my list ultimately was just the way he handled the back half of his senior year. Like, I was like, I'm not for that. You go out and play. But
that'll be interesting actually as we get to it, especially Florida State.
Yeah.
How many guys decide to play in that because they have NFL aspirations?
I would almost bet you that everybody at Florida State plays.
I hope so. I think it's always better when you play like the pros, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
But Myles Garrett was another guy like that. Not that he didn't play, but because of his NFL antics, I didn't put him in my favorites because like his NFL, especially like with the whole helmet thing a few years ago, it's kind of been like, I'm not. Which actually, he had another helmet incident today. He got like stuck in an offensive line, which I always find is one of the funniest things on the field. Like you're that close and smashing heads. I'm surprised it doesn't happen that often. But
my last guy would be just an honorable mention from a name.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to know who he is, but when I was a midshipman at the academy, he was a linebacker for Navy, and his name was Enoch Blazes.
That's a great name.
That's
a great
name. So
name.
anytime they announced him, the place would be going crazy.
Oh, I'm
Other
surprised.
than him, and then in basketball was Carl Liebert.
Yeah, who played at Navy. Yeah, he played with
Liebert.
David Robinson. That would be a good one. We'll get there. Come March, we'll do favorite basketball players, which I might actually pick all Duke players. But it's actually interesting. We didn't our honorable mentions. I forget. We always mention it every year, and we forget what teams are on. But shout out to the lineman last name Dingle and Barry
West Virginia.
it was West Virginia. Okay, they're like sitting next to each other on the bench, and that was
The best was the announcers.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
You see them sitting there, two big burly guys, both wearing numbers in the 90s, which back then meant they were defensive linemen.
They were like, I thought they were 60 something.
No, they were like 92 and
Okay.
93, and they're hot and sweaty. They have their helmets off, steam's rising.
Yeah.
One guy's Dingle, the other guy's Barry, and the announcer, it's quiet, and the announcer goes, somebody might want to tell those guys not to sit next to each other.
So what you're saying is that Dingleberry were steaming?
Yes,
It was a steamy
steaming
Dingleberry?
Dingleberries
Okay. All right, I think that's the sign that our podcast is over when we start talking about steamy Dingleberries. Yeah. No, but as always, we'll end on this. In 1993, in the second ever SEC championship game, number 9 Florida beats number 16 Alabama 28-13. Thanks for listening. Follow across all platforms and subscribe on YouTube by hitting the button right there.
Peace out.
We can edit about because I just have to edit this part because I've lost GarageBand. There it is.
Alrighty.
Cool. So I have to.
Jordan Love, 17.45 points already.
Cool. I'll do my editing. I will do my editing and you're good to go. Can you just hit the button there and hand me my phone?